NYYST. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Swinging for the fences, knock it out the park. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Christian and Chris, of course SGR. This is New York, Yankee sports talk. Homie, New York, Yankee sports talk. Record, rain or shine, grab your shades and umbrellas. NYYST, you're hanging with the fellas.
Welcome back. This is episode 339 of the NYYST podcast. We're presented by NYYNewsTV. I am your host, Christian, as always, joined by my co-host, Chris.
You.
I got to fix this camera here, bro. It's in the light there.
We already had about 30 technical issues before coming on, so good luck.
We'll try to get through this. We'll try to get through this as best as we possibly can. We are not live if you're watching on NYYNewsTV. This is a premiere, not a live show, because Pete wanted to, everybody's enjoying the 4th of July, but we figured our two options this week were to bang this out on Tuesday night or to wait until after the game was over on Wednesday, and this worked better.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I hope everybody enjoyed their 4th of July holiday and didn't blow up any extremities.
Okay.
Right?
Who was that? Plaxico did that?
No, he shot himself. That was Jason Pierre-Paul that blew off his
Right, JPP, yeah.
Blew off.
Okay.
And but the Yankees had themselves a good 4th of July. They took down the Orioles. They won 8-4 on Tuesday. That was backed up off of a 6-3 win on Monday night, where they came back from a 3-0 deficit. So the Yankees have come home. They played pretty good baseball so far in these two games after, I guess what you would say is kind of a disappointing road trip where they're playing two last place teams and they went 3-3.
Yeah, it's tough to when you look in the standings, they really didn't lose anything over those couple games. They could have gained, but I mean, at the end of the day, this series with Baltimore, for me, after that series against St. Louis, this series for me, they went down early yesterday, came back, won. They had a good win today. If they come out and lose these two games, I'm sitting here completely defeated, I think, on this season. I really am.
Yankees have gone, I think they're 13-13 now since Judge's injury, which is, it's kind of, would you say best case scenario, them being 500?
I guess they've played a lot. I mean, what teams have they played since the Seattle series was a good one to take.
Oh,
Texas.
since Judge has been out, you want to look at what they've done so far. He was injured in the middle of the Dodgers series. They lost 2-3 to the Chicago White Sox, who are shitty. They lost 2-3 to Boston, who was shitty. They split with the Mets, who are shitty. They got swept by Boston, who was shitty. Then they took 2 out of 3 versus Seattle, which, we said last week, they're probably a little bit better than what the record says they are. They took 2 out of 3 against Texas, who has come down to earth a little bit, but they're still a pretty good team, and they can definitely hit. And the Yankees pitching staff really did a good job against them. They took 2 out of 3 against the worst team possibly ever, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to
St. Louis,
another last place team. So,
yeah, it's been hit or miss. I feel like they haven't capitalized on games that, with or without Judge, you should win. And then they've also stolen a couple series where without Judge, it should have been a little more difficult for them to take the series. So, look, my biggest issue right now with this season, and maybe you feel differently, but you look at their record, given everything they've gone through, it's really not terrible. This team overall isn't
back
terrible.
To 10 over now. They're back to 10 over 500.
But at the end of the day, it's just what I don't want to buy anymore. Do you feel that? We say it time and time again. It's when is this team going to get an identity? They just don't have one. And it's really
their identity is on the. If you want to be realistic, their identity is on the injury list right now.
Well, I guess that's the biggest issue, right?
And if you
And
look at them
with
right
each
now,
day that passes, are you more or less optimistic that he comes back?
no, I'm more optimistic that he comes back because he basically shut down having surgery this year, and he knows that he's going to play through pain. So what he said today made me more optimistic that he'll actually be back this year. I don't know how much we'll see him in right field, to be honest with you. I think he might be primarily a DH, but I think you take that over not having him at all.
Yeah, of course. Especially, I think it was Katie Sharp who tweeted out Stanton's numbers. I mean, there's enough of a sample size now to say the dude plays much better when he's in the field. I mean, he's just not maybe he's not a good DH.
It was in the St. Louis series. I think I saw the numbers, and it was only a small sample size at the time. I think it was only 9 games. So he was hitting 270 as a DH, whereas he was, as an outfielder, whereas he was hitting like a $170 or $180.
Yeah,
but DH.
But you can now stretch that out over the last X amount of seasons. Now it was a bigger sample size, and it's consistent with that.
The Yankees have gone 500 in Judge's absences, and nobody's really ran away with anything. Everybody's also kind of played 500 baseball over this last month. The Yankees are currently they're giving the second wild card to Houston. If I'm looking at MLB at bat, they're giving, even though they both have 48 and 38 records, the Yankees are 2 up on Toronto in that final wild card spot, and they're still, they're 7 out in the division because Tampa's lost 3 in a row. So it's just, when do they get Judge back? Because if they can get this thing to 5 and get Judge back in early August, they do have a shot of possibly winning the division.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I have to say I'm not counting them out of the division just yet. I want to see more of a breakaway from Toronto at this point. And obviously, you got to keep chipping away. They got to come out and win. What time do they play tomorrow? 7?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
They got to come out and win tomorrow. I know it's a lot to ask for a sweep, but you got Rodon on the mound, right?
It's a 4-game series, okay? So Wednesday is only game 3 of the series. Randy Vasquez is going to make the start there. He's announced they're going to call him up. Rodon is not pitching until Friday, which is the opener of the Cubs series.
All right, so they pushed him back. I've been a little out of it.
They initially did say that he was probably going to make his debut on the 5th, but I think they are going to push him. They're pushing him back a couple of days to the 7th there. If you look at the standings right now, right behind the Yankees are the Blue Jays, who are 2 behind, and the Angels, who are 4 behind. And the Angels took a major blow today on Tuesday. It was announced that Trout's going to be out probably about 8 weeks. He broke the hamate bone in his left hand. Yankee fans remember that was the injury that cost Andrew Benintendi his season last year. So he's going to be out for a long time. And Ohtani just left the game right before we started recording here. He's got blisters. I don't know how much that would impact him with the bat, but it certainly might knock him out of start, maybe depending on how they heal. Sometimes pitchers will miss starts with those. But other than that, you got Boston at 43 and 43, Seattle's 42 and 42, and then you go to Cleveland at 41 and 43. I guess are really the only other threats, if you even want to call them that, for the wild card. So it's there for the Yankees to take, to solidify at least a wild card spot. Because even if you look at without Judge, you got to say that they can still compete at least at a slightly better level than those teams.
Yeah, they need him back. They need him back because
obviously,
I hate that the Yankees come out and talk about how the playoffs are a crapshoot, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to be as optimistic as possible, given our circumstance, that's the only thing we have to hang our hats on at this point, is that it is a crapshoot, that anything could happen. Any team could get hot at any time. Am I confident in this team right now? No, of course I'm not. Do they play good teams well? Yeah, they can. The Orioles are a good team right now, and the Yankees normally have issues with the Orioles when they need big wins. For some reason, the Orioles seem to steal some from the Yankees, and they've come out playing pretty well.
I don't think the Orioles pitching is there yet. I think that's where they're lacking.
Yeah, for sure. But if anything, I don't doubt this team's going to win a wild card spot here. I really don't. But at the end of the day, I think it's real. This St. Louis series is really going to come back and bite them in the ass. I really do.
I mean, we'll see what happens with the St. Louis series. If it really is going to harm them. I mean, if they go out here and take 3 out of 4, or even sweep a 4-game set with the Orioles, I think that kind of erases what happened in St. Louis, because no one would expect.
Yeah, but you know what's killer, man? And I think you tweeted it. Garrett Cole goes out and shoves 6 innings, 2-run ball. You can't lose those games, man.
I mean, that's the third. If I remember the tweet correctly, that's at least the 3rd time this year that he's allowed 2 or fewer runs and the Yankees didn't win the game.
And Clark Schmidt, how many runs did he give up?
3, which means that and I tweeted this also. I mean, yeah, he kind of got lit up there a little bit in that 4th inning when he gave up those 2 home runs. But still, overall, this guy's 7th on your depth chart, more or less, right? Would you say, if coming into the season, if everybody's healthy, he's 7th on the depth chart?
Yes.
So let's look at Clark Schmidt right now. So Clark Schmidt on 5-14 against the Rays, he gave up 7 earned runs, right? Since then, now he's made 9 starts. He's allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in all 9 starts, and only once did he not complete at least 5 innings.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. But like, when I look at this team, for me to feel good, it's not going to just take wins in the regular season. I gotta ask myself, what does this team need to make a serious run in the postseason? Number 1 is Judge being healthy. He's not yet. Number 2 is Sevy being effective. He regressed right back to looking like a piece of shit the other night. Number 3 is Rodon being healthy and effective. Still to see. So maybe those are, like, regardless of wins or losses here, I need to see something that I can be confident in this team, and I haven't yet.
Well, I think there are things that you can be confident about, and that was actually
confident in a sense of what's going to put them on the next level, I should say.
Oh, don't you think Anthony Volpe having 1,000 OPS and all?
Yeah, man.
I mean, isn't that something to feel confident about?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I know that he took an offer today, but still, since we got to. It's the chicken parm dinner. That's the line right there, right?
Crazy.
So since then, he had 1,000 OPS coming into the game today. He had the 4th highest OPS in I don't know if it was for all baseball or just the American League, since he sat down with Austin Wells that night. So I mean, that's something that you got to look into as something to be. If he is that player going into the postseason, that is a dynamic game changer for them that they didn't have last year. This is a guy, and his K rate has gone down. His bases on balls percentage, his walk rate has gone up. He's not stealing as much, which is a little concerning, because I think once he gets on, he should just be fucking going. But still, so those are all things you like to see. And if he's gonna, I don't know what the Yankees are gonna end up doing, but they don't have a leadoff hitter right now, and I don't see anybody better than him.
Well, here's one of my issues with this team. Volpe was sitting 8th, 9th for a while, and he starts to heat up.
It's just the worst position in the entire line.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I get it. He eventually needs to, but like, can we let him establish this a little longer before we're switching him up in the lineup every single game now? He's creeping up. First of all, he doesn't belong in the middle of the order. Okay, if you're gonna bat him not lead off, he should be 9th.
I agree with that.
There's no other place to put him. I don't know why we're playing games with batting him 7th, 8th, 9th, 6th, wherever they have him. Like, let him solidify himself a little bit and then figure out where this guy belongs. I personally, with DJ not being the same guy that we're used to, I want him as a leadoff hitter. I really do.
The Yankees don't have a leadoff hitter. They have no good options. I mean, look at what they've done in the past month. Rizzo today, I think, hasn't Gleyber Torres led off. We've seen Jake Bauers lead off. We've seen like LeMahieu's led off. These are not good options. These are just not good options. And I mean, would a guy like Volpe, if he can continue to, I don't expect him to carry 1,000 OPS throughout the season, but if he continues to be a guy that is taking good at bats, works walks, gets on, is getting his hits, and with his speed, that's something that the Yankees don't have anywhere else from anybody else. So I mean, I would like to see them make that change there. It could definitely change the dynamic of this lineup right now.
For sure. And I think it's necessary to take a second, because I feel like this guy kind of slips through the cracks when we talk about the goods. And, he certainly doesn't when we talk about the bad aspects of this team. But Gleyber Torres is really having himself a really good season right now.
I mean,
so. He's been
having a very
pretty
mid.
You don't think so?
I don't think he's having a very good season. And when I heard Boone said that he was actually lobbying for Gleyber Torres to make the All-Star team, I said, I don't know what this guy is watching. I mean, he had a really good game today, but that run that he scored from first base today, he wasn't paying attention to what the hell was happening.
I know.
The only reason why it worked is because the Orioles were the only people that were asleep more than he was. He didn't look back once to see where the ball was. He was in complete fuck it mode at that point. I mean, it worked because the Orioles, like I said, the Orioles were kept sleeping. They were sleeping, but I mean, he frustrates me, man. And he's hitting 240s, mid sevens OPS. I mean, he's been okay. I mean, he had a
I guess my
away from him, but I mean,
I guess my standards lowered on this team right now, because you look up and down the lineup and it's, you fall asleep just reading it. But I mean, he's been there. He's at least shown up. He's at least, again, we can talk about this again. He's at least raised his value up to the point where you'd want him to if you're going to use him as a trade piece.
I don't know. He's definitely not he had a better first half last year.
Yeah, but then he fell off the face of the earth.
He's kind of not. I don't know how to say this. So he's kind of in the hole, like he fell into the Grand Canyon, but he hasn't completely bottom yet.
Yeah,
like he never did that this year. He's always kind of like at least kept himself up a little bit, but I don't think he had an All-Star worthy of the year. I know.
Now, looking at the numbers, I agree with you.
I know Boone's always got to kind of protect him. Gleyber needs his juice box and cupcakes, but I wouldn't. If I'm the manager of the Yankees, I'm not petitioning. Like, if I'm going to fight for somebody, it's definitely, I'm not looking at Gleyber Torres and being like, this is a guy that I got to fight for to make an All-Star team.
No, I feel like as a Yankee fan, though, watching him play every day, he has come up in big spots. Even if his numbers aren't as good as I thought they were, he's been pretty clutch for this team.
Has he been the worst part? Has he been the biggest problem on this team? No, and I'll say that.
Not at all.
So while briefly, the Yankees did get 2 All-Stars. Obviously, Judge was voted in as a starter. He's not going to play. Wander Franco is going to take his spot. And Garrett Cole did make the All-Star team, so it's just Cole and Judge. And I don't really think anybody else is worthy. Just some numbers on Cole. He's made 17 starts this year. He's allowed 3 earned runs or fewer 14 times. He's only gotten knocked out before the 5th once. And he's only allowed 10 home runs this year in 17 starts. I mean, that's pretty damn good, especially considering the year that he had last year. So I think he's definitely last year I didn't think he deserved it. This year I definitely think Garrett Cole's deserved to make the All-Star team.
What was the one game? Tampa Bay?
What?
That shit game? Was that the one game he got knocked out early?
Oh, actually, it was the Texas game in the Texas series, the start previous.
I mean, the dude's got a 2.79 ERA. He's 8-2, I believe.
But the problem is, as I tweeted also, it's actually the 4th time. The Yankees have lost 4 games this year where Garrett Cole has allowed 2 runs or fewer.
That's a problem.
Those are games that you absolutely put in your back pocket as wins when he goes out there and he gives you those types of performances.
Yeah, it's a big problem. You can't lose those games with your ace on the mound.
Also, the Yankees lost one of those games, which was on Sunday. We're just going to kind of bounce around a little bit here. On Sunday, because Jordan Montgomery actually outdueled Garrett Cole, and the joke going around is that the Yankees still don't score runs when Jordan Montgomery is on. Look, dude, we've always kind of busted each other's balls about this. I was always more of a Monty supporter than you were, even though you claim that you don't hate Monty.
I love Monty.
Longtime fans of the show know differently. Look, so this was like a big talking point, Monday was the Harrison Bader trade, because Bader wasn't healthy when they were in St. Louis last year. Now he is, and then Bader had that big home run on Monday night to break the tie. You look back at that trade, hindsight being what it is, if that trade's on your table again to make it, are you still making the trade?
Yeah, I think I was never on that train until someone kind of brought it into a better context for me and made me realize that trade was made for the postseason. And as good as Jordan Montgomery was, you can argue Jordan Montgomery was the best fifth starter in baseball when he was here. But at the end of the day, if you're building this team properly, he shouldn't see the light of day in October.
Right. And, somebody had said that one of the hosts on WFAN said, "Oh, if I could go back, I wouldn't make that deal." And then, you tweet these at the opportune moments, and I tweeted it right after he hit the home run, and I said 10 out of 10 times you always make the Bader for Montgomery trade, and you say it at that point because it's going to get more traction because he just hit a big home run. But even before that, I felt that that's a trade the Yankees needed to make, and I still feel that that was a trade the Yankees needed to make. The big perplexing thing about that trade is why make it when Harrison Bader's in a walking boot and he's not going to play for you for another 6 weeks or whatever it ended up turning out to be. And also, I thought that trade was contingent on them making another trade, which they ended up not pulling the trigger on because they were apparently in on Pablo Lopez and they couldn't cross the T's and dot the I's on that. Right. But still, at the end of the day, if you're looking at this, right, and you're saying to yourself, because people in the comments on that tweet are arguing that Monty's a third starter. He's not a third starter. He's not supposed to be.
He shouldn't be
a third starter. No, he shouldn't be. Montgomery always got moved up because of injuries and ineffectiveness, which is a credit to him because outside of him having Tommy John surgery, he's always taking the ball every 5 days. So, I mean, that's a quality in of itself. And he's always, a typical Monty star was 2 to 3 runs, 5 to 6 innings. And those are perfect starts. That's just why we're saying, like, if Clark Schmidt goes out there and gives me 3 over 5 every time, you sign for it. You sign that in blood.
Yeah.
Because that's like we said, right now he's the 5th starter. He's 7th on the depth chart. Those are things you take out of those types of guys, right? So Monty will give you 2 to 3 over 5 to 6. You sign for that every time because he's supposed to be a back-ended rotation type of guy. And the Yankees went out there and we're not going to get into whether or not this was a smart move, but they went out there and they acquired Frankie Montas to put behind Garrett Cole. Then they were trying to get Pablo Lopez. So at that point, Montgomery becomes expendable. And then you don't want last year, the Yankees didn't want Aaron Judge playing as much center field as they did. So they needed to go out there and get a guy that could play center field. And, I think Bader's hitting like 370 since he's been a Yankee with runners in scoring position. So he's rising to the occasion in important spots. And then you watch this guy play, and granted, he's had 2 injuries already this year. So you don't like the health aspect of it. But is this guy not the one? I mean, seriously, in our lifetimes as Yankee fans, this is not the best defensive center fielder we've seen. No knock on Bernie Williams. But Bernie Williams, his natural athletic ability made him a good center fielder, but he's not what Harrison Bader is.
No. Harrison Bader, for me, from what I can remember, I'm sure there's people fought me. There's better defenders out there in the outfield, but from what I've been exposed to and seen, a decent amount of, Harrison Bader might be the best defensive outfielder I've seen play. I mean, he's that good.
mean, I can't look back at that trade and say that's one the Yankees would want back because I don't feel that way. I think even going into this year, the way things have broken out, would you rather have Monty than, Herman and Schmidt and Vasquez and Brito? I guess you could say that, but I mean, look at where this team would be. The Yankees' record, I don't know what it is exactly, but their record with Harrison Bader in the lineup is fucking tremendous compared to when it's not. Like, they're a real piss poor team when Harrison Bader doesn't play compared to when he does. He's, believe it or not, like, I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but he's almost got the same type of effect on this lineup in terms of wins and losses as Aaron Judge does, which is amazing to think about.
I'm gonna find it for us quick. Yeah, and every time you look at the box score, man, in big games, especially when they're down, like you said, he rises to the occasion. He's been stepping up in big spots.
I mean, you just look at this Orioles series alone, big 3-run home run to break the tie on Monday night. And then today, I think he had that 2-run double that really put the game away. I think they were up 4-3 or 5-3 at the time, right? 5-3 after the Trevino home run. And then he hit the 2-run double, which iced the game. So, I mean, Bader's been tremendous. I mean, it's just the one thing you worry about him is if he's going to pull something and miss 3 or 4 weeks, which is the knock on him, which, I mean, we'll talk about this at a different time, is whether you worry about whether or not you want him to sign him long term. But I mean, as far as this short term for two guys that were on the same exact contract, I think it was of all the things we knocked Brian Cashman about, this is not going to be one of them.
No, for sure. I mean, this year alone, I could tell you they're 26-12 when he's in the lineup.
Exactly. That's the type of impact that you would think Aaron Judge has on this team. Like, it's crazy.
That's pretty good.
14 games over 500 when Harrison Bader plays, which is crazy. It's insane. So, and I mean, just look at this series alone. Look at what has gone on in left field with IK. And this is not a knock on IKF. It really isn't, because I truly admire IKF for what he's done this year. He's kept his mouth shut and has done whatever the Yankees have asked him to do to try to help this team, which is a commendable thing, because a lot of guys would bitch and complain about it, but he's not an outfielder. And we saw that yesterday on 2 specific plays where he didn't make a play where, a legitimate outfielder does. Then today, in between the Hicks home run and the Frazier home run, Oswaldo Cabrera completely misreads the ball. That ball falls in, right? That's a play that a seasoned outfielder makes. So yeah, I'm not gonna take back the Harrison Bader trade.
What I say, they were 26-12,
yeah.
And their last year, 14 games, 10-4.
There you go. He has a
so 20 games over 500.
Has a significant impact on this team, so you can't take that away from him. And as much as I love Monty, he doesn't have that, or didn't have that same impact on the Yankees.
No.
So we did mention somebody. I did throw his name in there, just kind of matter of factly there, and that's Aaron Hicks. Aaron Hicks made his return to Yankee Stadium on Monday, and believe it or not, Aaron Hicks has more home runs more hits, as an Oriole in Yankee Stadium in 2023 than he does as a Yankee.
Which tells you all you need to know.
Oh,
right.
And look, man, nobody's ripped Aaron Hicks more than I have, right? And I just got to say this because I think it's ridiculous. Like, stop your crying. And this is not directed at Aaron Hicks, because Aaron Hicks wants to point at the sky and he wants to feel real good about himself after that home run today. That's fine. The fans have been on you while you were here. They're giving you a hard time now this series. You want to kind of give us an FU, that's fine. I don't care. That's perfectly within your right. But the actual Yankee fans that are like crying, like, how could we still boo Aaron Hicks? How could we boo a tribute video to Aaron Hicks? First of all, why are we doing a tribute video to Aaron Hicks?
Yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
What are we looping? The Minnesota catch and the Justin Verlander home run over and over again? Like,
yeah, I don't get that aspect of it.
I know, I get it. He was here a long time, but this is one of those things where we talk about where with the Yankees, like, they're just tone deaf like Smarter Yankees, play an Hicks tribute video. What did you think the fans were going to do? Do you think the fans were going to give this guy a standing ovation after that video?
No, you know what it is? It is smart because you have to remember something.
Think they were trolling him so he would get booed more?
No, they fall back on two narratives, and you have to keep this in mind throughout the season. The first narrative is if we were healthy, so on and so forth. The second narrative is the fans suck and no one can perform here because of the fans. So they had an opportunity to expose how awful the fans are, right? And they fucking jumped on it. And they knew very well how what the reaction was going to be, and they used that as fuel.
I mean, the Yankee fans treated Domingo Germán pretty good after Monday's game, even though he didn't pitch very well. He still got a standing ovation leaving the friggin' mound.
Oh,
Jesus. I mean,
listen.
If you want
to go down this road, do I think Yankee fans are fucking obnoxious? Yeah. Have I been obnoxious? Of course. That's part of playing here, right? But at the end of the day, if people would just stop and break down what the boos are, would I sit there and boo a tribute video to Hicks? No, I'd be sitting there going, why am I watching this right now? That would be the only thought in my head. I wouldn't even have the energy. I wouldn't even give him the energy to boo, right? I'd be sitting there saying, why the fuck am I watching this? But at the end of the day, if I were going to boo, it's not booing at Aaron Hicks. I'm booing at the Yankees front office for keeping him here for so fucking long and then deciding to throw that video up there. Our frustrations are the real fans. The frustrations are not at an individual level at this point. Like, yeah, do we fucking hate Aaron Hicks as an individual? Yeah, I fucking couldn't stand him here. But at the end of the day, if he helped this team win, that's all I care about.
I think for me, what it came down to with Aaron Hicks is his inability to realize that he wasn't good. That's
or
what
to take accountability for anything.
Right. And I heard I believe I heard Kay say that the other day, that this was a team full of accountability. I'm like, well, what are you watching?
There's maybe 2 or 3 guys.
We talked about this last week. It's pretty much Judge, Stanton, and Cole. Those are the only 3 guys that take accountability for what's happening. You know, Aaron, this is what people fail to realize. And I think Kay said this is like, I could understand if Hicks dogged it here to get this type of reaction. Michael, who watches more games than you do? This is literally your job to watch this team.
Dogged it.
I have to pull up the video of him staring at the wall.
I mean, I didn't hear him say that, thank God.
I didn't either, but
man, you want to talk about dogged it.
You know the account Awful Announcing? You ever seen
No.
One? Oh, it's a account on Twitter that kind of posts clips of announcers saying things like that. And that's what I had seen, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. It's not even that he dogged it. It's just that he was just a delusional individual where, and after that game, Aaron Boone protects him, gets him out of there. And then he taking shots at Aaron Boone. I don't know what my role is. Well, I know what your role is. It's just wait for your name to be called. If he could have, that's the difference between him and IKF. IKF just decided that, hey, what I was brought here to do wasn't working, so I'm going to do what the team is asking me to do, and I'm not going to say anything in the media about it. Where Aaron Hicks took the complete opposite approach, where he thought that he deserved to still be a starter, even though he was terrible, and then he decided to tell the media that he should still be a starter despite not being good anymore. So I think that's where my frustration lies, and I would hope that a lot of the fans have that same type of frustration, that it's because he just didn't get it.
Yeah.
If he would, if there's anybody I would feel bad for about getting booed, it'd be Joey Gallo. His exit interview wasn't great. I'll grant him that, where he was kind of taking a couple of shots here and there, but Joey Gallo didn't really say anything obnoxious while I was here. It just wasn't good.
No, but
If Hicks was just here and not good, that's one thing. But like, don't add gasoline to the fire by opening your mouth and making comments about shit and making it worse.
No, but that kind of proves my point with Gallo, right? Gallo was fucking terrible. But at the end of the day, those few comments in the exit interview went a long way. They probably made more of an impact than they normally would have. But why? I mean, why are we holding on to these things? And for two reasons. One, because in my opinion, until this team wins a championship or at least the pennant, I think the fan base has every right to be frustrated at every little thing they want to be. That's the first thing. And the second thing is the accountability aspect that you talked about. If it were just Aaron Hicks, that's one thing, but it's not. It goes from the top down, from when you listen to Hal, to Cashman, to Boone, then to Hicks, then to Joey Gallo's exit interview. That's the frustration, man. If it were just isolated to Aaron Hicks, you'd say, look, he's different than the other players. We want him out of here. And then he's gone and you forget about him. But we can't forget about Aaron Hicks. You want to know why? For two reasons. One, because we still get the same bullshit from everyone else above him in this organization. And two, he's playing much better for the Orioles. And it just makes us resent this front office even more, or the philosophy within the organization.
I don't care what he does with the Orioles, dude. It was time for him to go. And people
absolutely
people want to hang on to, oh, he's hitting 260 as an Oriole. Great. I don't care. I hope he hits 400.
I couldn't care less. Me too.
And why are we still booing Hicks? Well, this is why we're booing Hicks, because Hicks represents a lot of frustration with both him as an individual
exactly the point,
and him what he represents. What he represented here as a Yankee. So, I mean, Hicks dug his own grave with some of the things that he said, and also he represents a lot of what fans are frustrated about.
Exactly my point. It's not about the individual at this point. It's about what he brings with him. He brings all the frustrations, all the things we're frustrated about. He's synonymous with losing seasons, and by losing seasons, I mean not winning a fucking World Series, which apparently that has, that definition has changed in the front office. He brings, no accountability, all these things. So that's why he gets booed. That's why we don't know why the fuck you're giving him a tribute video.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was senseless. When I saw that, so the Yankees opened up that can of worms there. They wanted the guy. I mean, honestly, they wanted the guy to get booed, whether or not they're trying to push a narrative that we suck as fans, or they just wanted to troll Aaron Hicks. They had to know, like, the decision maker on that had to have known that was not going to end up well for Aaron Hicks. Like, Aaron Hicks wasn't going to get a hero's welcome and come and tip his cap to the fans after that video was played. Like, they had to have known that.
Yes.
I mean,
unless you're that. Unless you're just, I was just saying, unless you're just that out of touch, which I can't believe.
That I don't. I mean, I honestly don't believe that they didn't know that. I mean, there's certain things that I believe that they're oblivious to, but that one I can't believe that they would be oblivious to.
No.
So there's a fun hypothetical that I posted about on social media, and I wanted to get your take on it here, right? So it's the season of the trade calculators. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so. Machado's value because of the contract is like minus 146 or some shit like that.
Okay.
So somebody posted on Twitter, and I really hope that they were being sarcastic, but you never know because people think that these trade calculators are God's Bible. And it was like Juan Soto and Machado for Anthony Volpe. And it was actually like a slight overpay for somebody, like by a point or two. So I'm saying to myself, like, why are we doing this? But anyway, it did bring up an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about right here. And I know, and people, this is the problem with social media. People just can't play the game. Like, it's a hypothetical question.
It's a game.
It's a hypothetical question for you as a Yankee fan. We're not taking into account what the Padres need or want. It's a hypothetical question for you, what you would do, right? And when I phrase it like this, it means that obviously the Padres would want him if they're asking for him, right? So let's say the Padres call up the Yankees. Would you say that left field is probably the biggest hole that the Yankees need to fill at this point?
It's not even a question.
Juan Soto would be probably the best case scenario of them filling that hole.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that the Padres they're cashing in the season. They're like, listen, whatever it is that we tried to build here is just not working. Let's try to get some assets back. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Right? They call up the Yankees. Hey, Brian. I think AJ Preller's the GM out in San Diego. Let's say he calls up Brian. He said, Brian, listen, I know you need a left fielder. Photos on the table. We're willing to move him. But back to us has to be headlined by Anthony Volpe. If you're Brian Cashman, do you continue the conversation? Or you hang up the phone?
All right. So now you're asking me if I'm Brian Cashman.
Yankees GM, because I know you're going to get this thing in your head where you're going to act like Brian. If you are the Yankees general manager,
so it's me answering. And I will definitely entertain it. I'll say that. I'm definitely not hanging up the phone immediately. Brian Cashman is. We can just get that out of the way right now. But if I'm in Brian Cashman's role, I'm definitely entertaining it.
Want to hear what maybe the rest of the package is, if Soto's willing to talk extension, but the Volpe is not a deal breaker for you.
When you're talking about a return of Juan Soto,
a year and a half of Juan Soto, no guarantee of the extension. But let's just say that's what they want. They want the package to be headlined by Anthony Volpe. They basically want the headline to be Anthony Volpe traded for Juan Soto. That's what they want to see on the ESPN ticker.
Now we go back to last week when you talked about Judge. And this is why I said Judge being healthy or not wouldn't come into play because the Yankees aren't going to entertain a huge deal like this. But in a huge deal like this where there's a timestamp of a year and a half and you're giving up a huge asset like Anthony Volpe, I need to know if Judge is coming back this year.
Back this year, I just told you. He's playing this year.
Wow.
Well, no, if he's going to play right field, but he'll be in the lineup.
I don't know, man.
We'll get two playoff runs out of Juan Soto. Guaranteed 2 playoff runs with him.
I'd say I have to look at all the money I have out there. If I'm being a good GM, I have to look at the money I just gave to Judge, the money I have on the table out there for Cole. I have to look at the window that's rapidly closing, and I have to make the move that maximizes their prime. And in that case, I hate to say it, but I probably make the deal. I probably do, because these next 2 seasons, for the money I've already put out there as a general manager, I need to secure something in the next 2 years, right? And I don't think, and when you're talking about a guy like Juan Soto, he's a name big enough to put you over the top. So I'd have to really consider it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, it would be hard. It would really be hard to just hang up the phone at that point. I would definitely want to have a conversation about it. Because I mean, think about it like this: we're lobbying for Oswald Peraza to be on this team, right? So you got to look at it like that too. What makes the Yankees better, Juan Soto and Oswald Peraza, or just Anthony Volpe?
Right.
So,
Right. It's not a question.
it would see that is the type of move. Honestly, that's the type of move that takes a lot of guts and a lot of balls to make, but it's also the type of move that you make when you're serious, when you are really dead serious about trying to win a championship. That's a move that you make. You trade Anthony Volpe for Juan Soto, and you're not replacing him with IKF.
And it would hurt.
You have to feel pain in some. Brian Cashman's biggest problem is that he doesn't want to feel pain in any of the trades.
Correct.
He wants to feel pain afterwards because they don't fucking work out. But when he signs the paperwork, he doesn't want to feel pain. He doesn't want to have that instant regret when he makes the little squiggle of the N at
Right.
the end of Cashman. Like when the pen lifts off the paper, he doesn't want to have that instant regret.
Right.
That would be a trade where you would have instant regret. I don't care if you're the biggest Volpe fan in the world or you're not. I should say, I don't care how you might not even want Anthony Volpe on the Yankees. You might just think that this 3-4 week span is a flash in the pan and he's really a 180 hitter. That's still a trade where if you sign, as soon as the pen lifts off the paper, you have instant regret that you made that trade. That is this the right move? But that's a serious maneuver right there. Honestly, as much as I would hate to see Anthony Volpe be traded, if the Yankees pulled off a move where it was Volpe for Soto, ancillary pieces included, but it was basically Volpe for Soto, I would honestly sit back and say they're fucking serious for the first time in a real long time right now.
Well, yeah, because what that does instantly is it exposes the fact that you understand there's only a couple of years to really make a move with this team, which is why I was against selling at the deadline, because I still think you have to work around what you've already spent.
I don't think they're definitely not selling.
And the second thing is, for the first time in a while, it puts a lot of pressure on Cashman. It really does. I mean, what you're essentially doing at that point is saying, I'm giving up the future with the risk of us winning it all in the next 2 years. We have 2 years to do it.
That is a trade, man. Like I'm thinking about this. Like if you woke up on tomorrow morning, just say hypothetically, and you saw that trade would go down, your heart would sink.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want Volpe to go, but as a split second later, you would be excited. You would honestly be excited by that trade. Your heart would sink, and then it would automatically it would rise back up because you'd be pumped up that the Yankees are going for it this year.
And here's the thing that Cashman and Hal don't understand. Like, you're going to get your people who rip you, right? And you're, of course, going to get the fans who, in a couple of years, if it doesn't work out, Volpe becomes a star and brings a championship here, that are going to say you made the wrong move. But at the end of the day, when you have realistic fans, rational fans sit back and say, was this move at least the move that showed that the front office was serious about winning? At the end of the day, that's all hindsight's always 20/20. But at the end of the day, if you can hang your hat up and say, at least ownership cared, like, this is the move that proves that to me. That's why all these Mets fans are ripping Cohen for them sucking, and he spent all this money. And I was talking to a Met fan the other day, like ripping Verlander and the Scherzer deal and all that. Like, but dude, when they got him, were they not the best players still in baseball, the best pitchers in baseball? I mean, Verlander's coming off Cy Young. We know better than any fan base that spending a bunch of money obnoxiously doesn't necessarily translate into World Series, wins or runs or whatever. But at the end of the day, what I would give to have that feeling back that my front office only cares about winning it all, man, this is the move that kind of makes me feel that way again.
Yeah, I mean, any Yankee fan that says that, and there was plenty of them. We got a lot of interaction. There was a lot of people that said yes, they would hang up the phone immediately. And I'm saying to myself, like, you can't. If you're dead serious about winning a World Series, and that trade came across your table as a Yankee GM, you cannot hang up the phone. You can maybe say that after that point, they're asking for too much. That's fine. And you could say, we're going to walk away from it. But you can't just say on the surface, Volpe for Soto, that you would not at least continue the conversation, because I think you'd have to. You'd have to hear what else was involved in a trade. And if it was just minor bit pieces and the trade was just basically Soto for Volpe, how do you honestly, and this is coming from a huge Anthony Volpe guy, how do you walk away from that if you're the Yankees or a Yankee fan?
Yeah.
Honestly, like, if we learned This was why this is such an intriguing thing. And I don't care about the San Diego Padres perspective of it because I'm not a Padre fan and I'm not running a Padre podcast. I'm a Yankee fan and we have a Yankee podcast. So I'm looking at things from a Yankee perspective to make you think, to make you, say, hey, this is a really intriguing conversation. Like, how do you walk away from Volpe for Soto? How do you do that? If you are on the Yankee side, how do you do that? Now, if you found out like the 3 weeks after the trade deadline, that trade was on the table and Cashman said no to it, I don't know how I would feel. At one point, I'd be mad. I'd be like, listen, Soto fills such a hole and we have somebody to take Volpe's spot. But at the same time, like, I want the Yankees to grow with Volpe, right? I want that. No, don't you? But so
Yeah,
that's why this is such like an intriguing conversation to me.
Well, we're emotionally invested, but imagine this is how we feel about Volpe batting what? 210? You cut out. What'd you say?
I think he's up to like 220 now in that area.
Come on. He was just for today. I don't think he's
I'll look up the box score. He might have gone down a little bit because, like I said, he took an offer, but he's currently batting 222.
Wow. He was just at 211 the other day.
Dude,
all right,
like
but
5
still,
consecutive multi-hit games.
Imagine he's batting closer to 300. He's been consistent all year. And then we have to have this conversation. We're talking about him where he didn't exist for 3 weeks.
Okay, so he's chicken parm Anthony Volpe all year long.
It's even tougher, but again, it doesn't change because my answer is not based off of his performance thus far. I have a lot of faith in Anthony Volpe, and I think he's going to be a tremendous baseball player. I really do. I just don't know if right now, by the time we wait for all of that to come to fruition without a left fielder, without a guy like Soto, adding a guy like Soto to this lineup, I don't think Anthony Volpe alone does anything for us. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at the combination of Soto and Peraza versus Volpe and IKF or Volpe and Oswaldo Cabrera. I mean, look at it, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why it's so wild because it's one of those trades where if it happens, you're upset and happy. And if it doesn't happen and you learn that it could have happened, you're also upset and happy. Like, I don't want to lose Volpe, but at the same time, dude, if that's the piece for Soto, I mean, come on.
You also have to take into account these last few games have really exposed what a liability it is to have an infielder playing left field.
Yes. I mean, just exactly. I said that earlier. Look at these two Baltimore games and look at the runs the Yankees and extra outs the Yankees have given a good hitting team in Baltimore because they have infielders playing the outfield.
And that's no knock on IKF or anyone who's going out there and trying to get things done. It's just it's the facts here.
Oh, I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I wish we were live. So just for this conversation, to see what the chat would be saying. But,
yeah.
Based on that tweet, man, there are a lot of mixed reactions. A lot of people are saying, no, I'd hang up immediately. And a lot of people are saying what we're saying. It's like, yeah, I mean, for Juan Soto, and that's the biggest hole the Yankees have right now, is a trade you have to explore. And
Absolutely.
I ignore people that are like, the Padres don't need another shortstop. I don't care. That's not the game we're playing here. Okay. What we're doing. It's trying to make you think as a Yankee fan. Like, think a little bit, guys.
Okay.
Oh, you guys will be listening to this on Apple Podcast and watching on NYYNewsTV Wednesday before Game 3 of this series. The Yankees already announced that Randy Vasquez is coming up to make the start, and then Luis Severino is going to pitch on Thursday in the finale, and he just got fucking obliterated in St. Louis. So anything that you felt about him after that Texas game where I think, what did he go, 6 scoreless maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Where you thought maybe Sevy was back, he's not back.
No.
I mean, he's not. And I don't know if this is a real overreaction to that start, but I tweeted it and I'm sticking to it days later. I don't even entertain bringing him back next year.
As of right now, you can't.
And then Friday's the game that we're all looking at. I mean, it's the game we've been waiting for 3 months now. And no, it's not Luis Severino bobblehead night. I mean, it is, but I mean, at that point, whatever fireworks you have left over from the 4th of July celebration, you might as well put in the Sevy bobblehead box and light that shit up. But it's Carlos Rodon's debut as a New York Yankee. So since we're not going to talk on this show before that start, obviously, like, give me like what are you expecting out of Rodon in this start? Give me like a base of what you're kind of expecting from him.
Very short leash. I think Boone said 70 pitches, 75. I don't know how well a guy like Rodon is going to pitch under those circumstances, knowing you have such a short leash. But I think he's going to pitch well. I'm going to go 4+, maybe 4 2/3. Maybe he makes it into the 5th. I'd say 0 to 1 earned runs. I think he holds it down.
Let's say this: you watch the game, Friday night. He comes out with 2 runners on in the 5th. So he's going 4 2/3, gives up 3 runs, got the strikeout pitch working, but he's a little rusty. So you want to say 3 earned over 4 2/3, 6 Ks, 3 walks. Are you coming away feeling encouraged, or you're like, this was a mistake signing this guy?
I'm not feeling encouraged, but I'm not feeling discouraged at all. I'm just going to take it for what it is. It's almost, to me, this is almost like a spring training game. Yeah. I just need to see that he's got some zip. I need to see that his mechanics look good, and that most importantly, he feels comfortable the next day, and that he's going to keep progressing.
It almost, you hate to say this for a team that's fighting for a 3rd wild card right now, and we're in early July, but you almost take the result and throw it out the window with him if the stuff looks good. If the stuff looks good, you feel good about him going forward.
And he feels good the next day.
Yeah, I mean, if Saturday morning you feel that it's just normal post-start soreness and everything continues from there, then you feel pretty good. But if the fastball's in the low 90s, he's got no bite on that slider, that's shit to worry about. But
yes.
But, like we said, he's probably going to be rusty. He's probably going to give up some hits if that's the case, but the stuff looks good, mid-90s with the fastball. He's got good bite on the slider, and he just, he's walking guys, missing location just because of rust. I mean, that's the type of shit that you're going to be looking for, and you're starting with Rodon. So, I mean, you hate to say it, but if you lose that game because he doesn't go deep or he gives up some runs, you kind of just have to ignore it, because his health and his stuff is more important. And I hate even saying this, but his health and his stuff is more important than the win on Friday.
Yeah, but it would be nice.
It would be nice. I'm not saying lose the game, but if they lose,
we'll still take the win.
If they lose 4-2, and Rodon gives up all 4 runs, but his stuff looks really good. He just got hit around because he's a little rusty. I think you feel pretty good going forward. And we're going to feel pretty good if we see you out in the Audi Club on September 23rd. Tickets are still available for NYY News TV Day 2023 Part 2, which will be Aaron Judge Bobblehead Day, which is a collection. It's the second part of the collection. So you have to go on August 20th because they're giving out Roger Maris's bobblehead.
Wow.
So that's going to be 61. And then you pair it next to Aaron Judge's, which will be for 62. So it's a set that you have to get.
Okay.
But also you're going to come there and hang out in the Audi Club and chill with us and chill with everybody from NYYST. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. And even though we're not live, you're watching us on NYYST. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. So we'll be on later in the week. Next week, Chris won't be here. He'll be enjoying a nice vacation with his family. But the podcast will be back either Wednesday or Thursday. We're still working on a time and date because it's the All-Star break. The Yankees will be approaching the end of the first half with this Cubs series, and then they'll enjoy a few days off before they're in Colorado. So we'll be back, either Wednesday or Thursday. So follow us on NYYST _podcast, and when we have the time and date, we'll we'll tweet it there. So we want to thank everybody for their continued support of NYYST and NYY News TV. We hope everybody had a great and safe 4th of July. And we want to thank everybody for listening and watching episode 339 of the NYYST podcast. Chris, say goodbye.
Before it hits the front page.